Hello friends. Have you ever wondered what happens when two dreamers fall in love? What if both are intuitive, emotional, and deeply spiritual? Welcome to the cosmic dance between a Pisces man and a Pisces woman, a match that feels like poetry in motion, or at times, like two clouds trying to hold each other. Today, we're diving into their mystical compatibility, examining their relationship through the lenses of love, sex, marriage, friendship, and business. So let's float into the ocean of Pisces on Pisces synergy, where everything is possible, and sometimes, nothing is grounded. Love compatibility, two souls, one dream. When a Pisces man meets a Pisces woman, it's not your typical, boy meets girl, story, it's more like, soul meets mirror. There's an instant recognition, an almost eerie sense of déjà vu that runs deeper than physical attraction. These two don't just notice each other, they feel each other, on a level that transcends logic or circumstance. It's as if they've stumbled upon something ancient and sacred, something they've been quietly searching for without realizing it. Their connection often feels fated, like they've shared lifetimes together. There's no awkward small talk, no need for posturing. They simply understand, without trying, without speaking, often without even looking. It's that profound. What draws them together is a subtle, magnetic pull of shared energy. Their love doesn't burn like fire, it flows like water, smooth, gentle, and all-encompassing. It's a current that carries them toward one another, guided by emotion and intuition rather than logic or strategy. Both Pisces are dreamers, idealists, romantics who crave depth, mystery, and spiritual connection. When they fall for each other, they don't just date, they merge. Their conversations spiral into abstract musings on love, purpose, pain, art, and existence. They live in the space between reality and imagination, where feelings outweigh facts and dreams feel more real than the world around them. Ruled by Neptune, the planet of fantasy, illusion, and transcendence, both the Pisces man and woman approach love with a level of intensity that borders on mythical. For them, love is not an emotion, it's an experience. It's divine. It's the thread that connects all living things. They crave a partner who can meet them in that mystical place between thought and feeling, between silence and understanding. And when they find each other, it feels like home, because each reflects the other's soul back with stunning clarity. Their love is a watercolor painting, fluid, emotive, and hard to define, but breathtaking in its depth. But here's the twist, that same depth, that same emotional resonance, can easily turn into entanglement. Pisces are empathetic to a fault. They don't just listen to each other's feelings, they absorb them. They become them. When one partner is sad, the other feels it like their own wound. When one is anxious, both are sleepless. They don't just mirror each other's light, they reflect each other's darkness, too. Their moods blend until neither one can tell where one ends and the other begins. It's as intoxicating as it is overwhelming. At times, they may confuse love with emotional fusion, thinking the more they suffer together, the deeper their bond. In the best-case scenario, they become each other's emotional sanctuary. He understands her sensitivity without mockery. She reads his silences with compassion, not fear. Together, they create a cocoon of trust where vulnerability is not just accepted, it's cherished. They know how to comfort without fixing, how to love without needing to change one another. This kind of love is rare. It's the stuff of poetry, of dreams written in stardust. When it works, their connection feels like a soft melody that never ends. But in the worst-case scenario, they can become each other's emotional crutch. Their shared desire to escape the harshness of reality can spiral into avoidance and fantasy. They might enable each other's unhealthy coping mechanisms, overindulging in sleep, escapism, or substances. Difficult conversations may be postponed until they grow toxic. Instead of lifting each other up, they may pull each other down into emotional quicksand, overwhelmed by unspoken needs and unmet expectations. Their dreamlike love becomes a fog they can't see through. The truth is, when two Pisces fall in love, the line between unity and codependency is razor thin. Their greatest strength, their emotional fluidity, is also their greatest vulnerability. To thrive, they must cultivate individuality within their bond. They need to learn how to say, "This is mine," and "That is yours," even when their instinct is to share everything, feel everything, hold everything together. They must allow space between their hearts, not to separate, but to breathe. Otherwise, their love becomes too heavy with emotion, too full of feeling, and the very thing that drew them together becomes the thing that drowns them. With awareness, however, a Pisces-Pisces love story can be nothing short of magical. Two souls swimming in the same emotional ocean, drifting toward each other not by accident but by destiny. Their love can be a soft place to land, a safe harbor from the storms of the world, a place where feeling deeply isn't just allowed, it's celebrated. When they find the balance between merging and maintaining identity, between dreaming and doing, between depth and direction, they don't just love. They become love. Sexual compatibility, a fantasy come to life. Imagine a love scene painted by Salvador Dali and written by Pablo Neruda. That's Pisces-Pisces intimacy in its purest form. It isn't just about pleasure, it's about transcendence. Their sexual connection is a dreamy, slow unfolding ritual of emotional merging and soul-bearing vulnerability. It's soft where it needs to be, intense when it wants to be, and above all, deeply meaningful. For these two, sex is never casual. It's sacred. It's symbolic. It's the wordless ceremony of two spirits slipping into each other's emotional skin. This isn't a relationship where one person takes and the other gives. With Pisces and Pisces, it's a continuous emotional offering, a circular motion of care, expression, and psychic communion. What makes their intimacy so powerful is their ability to read each other without words. They're like emotional clairvoyants, sensing desire before it surfaces, recognizing boundaries without having to spell them out. A glance between them can feel like a full-body sensation. Eye contact is more than arousing, it's transporting. Every touch carries meaning, every breath is tuned to the emotional tempo of the moment. They are fully present with each other, not only physically but spiritually. Their lovemaking becomes a fluid conversation of bodies and souls, a dialogue expressed in sighs, in softness, in unguarded presence. It's like dancing underwater with a partner who knows every step by heart. They're not performers in bed, they're poets. There's little ego, little pressure to impress. Instead, there's fluidity and responsiveness. A kiss can last minutes, an embrace can feel infinite. Time seems to melt when they're together, and what remains is pure sensation, sensual, emotional, and often dreamlike. Fantasy plays a major role in their sexual universe. Whether it's through music, atmosphere, role-play, or deeply imaginative storytelling, Pisces partners love to create a world within a world. Their bedroom becomes a stage for escapism, a realm where shame doesn't exist, and only mutual exploration matters. But that same dreaminess comes with a hidden cost. Because both Pisces tend to be passive lovers, there can be a lack of initiative that slowly drains energy from their encounters. They may fall into patterns of waiting for the other to make the first move. Both may become so tuned into pleasing each other, or so hesitant to disrupt the emotional vibe, that spontaneity suffers. Without someone willing to introduce boldness or variety, their sex life can start to feel like a soft lullaby that plays on repeat. Beautiful, yes, but lacking contrast, rhythm, or edge. It becomes too safe, too ethereal. Without fire, even water begins to cool. Furthermore, their mutual avoidance of confrontation or direct communication may keep them from voicing deeper sexual needs or fantasies. They may feel something is missing but hesitate to say it out loud for fear of breaking the spell. Because they value emotional harmony above all, they might prioritize connection over experimentation, leading to a physical relationship that, while emotionally rich, can become creatively stagnant. They need to remember that intensity doesn't always have to be gentle, and sensuality can still thrive in structure, variety, and playful dominance. When they are emotionally aligned, though, the connection is nothing short of cosmic. Their sexual union becomes a portal, an intimate space where trust, surrender, and pleasure weave together like stardust. Vulnerability flows freely. Barriers fall. They can explore parts of themselves they've never shown anyone else, because with each other, there's no judgment. Only acceptance. Only curiosity. Only unconditional emotional space. Their lovemaking may not always be athletic or dramatic, but it's always sincere, and often unforgettable. Ultimately, Pisces with Pisces in the bedroom is like two musicians improvising a duet in perfect harmony. Their bodies become instruments of expression, their emotions the melody, their intentions the rhythm. But like any duet, it needs variety. It needs someone willing to lead, someone willing to push the tempo, someone brave enough to break the pattern for the sake of passion. If they can find that spark, and protect it with the same devotion they give to emotional intimacy, then their sexual bond becomes not only magical, but ever-evolving. A true fantasy come to life, with no end in sight. Marriage compatibility, life in a dream, or a fog. A marriage between a Pisces man and a Pisces woman can be nothing short of enchanting. Their union is often built on the deepest kind of emotional understanding, one that doesn't require explanations or apologies. When these two come together in matrimony, it feels like the natural conclusion to a storybook romance. They don't just fall in love, they fall into a shared dream, where love letters, candlelit dinners, and whispered late-night conversations aren't special occasions but part of the daily rhythm. Marriage to them isn't merely a contract or social tradition, it's a spiritual vow, a soul-level promise to walk through life hand in hand, heart to heart. They thrive in a world of shared rituals. They'll plant gardens with meaning, adopt strays as family, and celebrate anniversaries with poems instead of presents. This couple is sentimental to the core. They'll keep boxes of old concert tickets, handwritten notes, and trinkets from their first vacation, all because every memory matters. They find comfort in the little things that others often overlook: emotional safety, soft gestures, the warmth of knowing someone understands them without needing to ask. Their love language is not loud or showy, it's subtle, intuitive, and continuous. In each other, they find not just a partner, but a sanctuary. But while their emotional connection is rich and fulfilling, their idealism can quietly become a blind spot. Pisces are dreamers, often to the point of detaching from reality. When two of them come together, their shared fantasy can create a beautifully insulated world, but that insulation may keep out more than just the cold. Real-life responsibilities like paying bills, managing time, or making difficult decisions can feel intrusive to their bubble. They may avoid these things or delay dealing with them, believing that love alone can sustain them. But when pressure builds, financially, logistically, or emotionally, neglect turns into crisis. Their mutual discomfort with confrontation adds another layer of complexity. When something bothers one partner, they may choose to suffer in silence rather than disrupt the emotional harmony they both value so much. The other, equally sensitive, picks up on the change but doesn't push for an answer, afraid of what they might find. This can create a feedback loop of avoidance, where problems grow larger in the shadows. Resentment simmers beneath the surface, and by the time it's addressed, it may already feel like betrayal. Without open, honest communication, even the most beautiful love can quietly deteriorate into confusion and disappointment. A major challenge for this pair is the lack of grounding energy in the relationship. Both Pisces partners prefer floating in the realm of ideas, intuition, and emotion. While this creates an unbreakable spiritual bond, it leaves practical gaps. Who's managing the household budget? Who's making the tough decisions when things get stressful? When neither wants to take on those grounded roles, the relationship can suffer from a lack of direction. They may drift, romantically connected but overwhelmed by real-world demands. Without structure, even the deepest emotional intimacy can start to feel like wandering in fog. This doesn't mean they're doomed to chaos, it means they need intention. Together, they must learn to balance dreaming with doing. That might look like making a shared calendar to organize their week, setting aside time each month to talk about finances, or even planning regular, real-world check-ins, where they lovingly confront any lingering issues. A marriage therapist can be a huge asset for this pair, not because they're broken, but because they both value emotional fluency and would thrive with guided communication. The key is to create a marriage that honors their dreamlike connection and grounds it in everyday life. That means setting emotional boundaries, delegating responsibilities fairly, and keeping each other gently accountable. It means recognizing when the dream is serving their growth, and when it's becoming an escape. With the right tools, a Pisces couple can build a life that is both poetic and functional, filled with imagination but anchored in care. At their best, a Pisces man and woman in marriage are soulmates who nurture each other's inner worlds with unwavering kindness. They remind each other of beauty in dark times, hold each other gently through hardship, and love with a softness that makes life feel sacred. Their bond is tender, empathetic, and eternal. But for that sacredness to last, it needs structure. It needs reality. And it needs two dreamers brave enough to wake up and face the day, together, hand in hand, with eyes full of stars and feet firmly on the ground. Friendship compatibility, a spiritual brotherhood/sisterhood. If romantic love between two Pisces is deep, their friendship can be absolutely profound, like discovering the missing piece of your emotional DNA. These two don't need introductions or explanations, they simply get each other. From the moment they meet, there's an unspoken connection that feels less like making a new friend and more like reuniting with someone they lost in another lifetime. Their bond is soul level, subtle but powerful, quiet but unshakable. With their shared emotional sensitivity and intuitive nature, a Pisces-Pisces friendship often feels more like a cosmic partnership than a casual connection. They seem to exist in sync, able to pick up on each other's moods without saying a word. A single glance can communicate everything: sadness, joy, anxiety, or excitement. They instinctively know when one of them needs space to process, or when they need to be held without having to ask. A Pisces friend won't just bring tissues to your meltdown, they'll cry with you, feel it with you, and then help you write a poem about it. These two speak fluently in the language of empathy. They're the kind of friends who leave voice notes filled with encouragement, check in, just because, and send spiritual memes that somehow say exactly what the other needed to hear. They are both wildly imaginative, deeply compassionate, and emotionally generous. Their friendship quickly becomes a haven from the chaos of everyday life. Together, they create a kind of sacred space where all emotions are welcome and no thought is too strange. This is the friend who will explore your wildest creative ideas, decode your dreams, and cry over poetry with you at 2 a.m. They don't need plans or structure, they can spend an entire afternoon talking about the nature of love, the metaphysics of déjà vu, or why that sad movie they just watched felt like a personal spiritual awakening. Or they can just sit in peaceful silence, watching the waves roll in or lying under the stars, and feel completely understood. What makes this friendship so rare is its lack of competition. Pisces friends aren't trying to outshine each other, they're trying to lift each other higher. Status, ego, and comparison rarely have a place here. These two value emotional connection over external success. When one wins, the other feels like they've won, too. They cheer each other on with sincerity, not envy. They inspire rather than intimidate. Their creativity feeds off each other, their conversations flow like rivers, and their hearts remain open even when life feels overwhelming. But that openness can sometimes become a double-edged sword. Because they're both highly sensitive and deeply emotional, misunderstandings can feel especially painful. If one Pisces feels neglected, ignored, or emotionally invalidated, they may not confront it directly. Instead, they might retreat into silence, becoming passive-aggressive or distant without saying why. This emotional withdrawal can confuse the other, who senses something's off but may feel too vulnerable to ask. Their shared fear of conflict can result in long stretches of emotional fog, where hurt lingers but is never clearly named. It's not malicious, just avoidant. And if boundaries aren't respected, one friend might begin to feel drained or emotionally overwhelmed by the other's intensity. That said, Pisces pairs are almost always willing to forgive. Their friendship is built on the foundation of emotional resonance and spiritual similarity, and when they do drift apart, they often find their way back with a single, sincere conversation. It's hard for either of them to hold a grudge for long. They may cry, hug, apologize in a way that only Pisces can, messy, beautiful, raw, and move forward with a deeper understanding of each other. They don't need grand gestures, just honest emotional expression is enough to heal the rift. Deep down, both know that what they share is rare, and they're not quick to throw it away. In essence, the friendship between two Pisces is a sanctuary for the soul. It's not always smooth, but it is always heartfelt. It's where vulnerability feels safe, where emotional messiness is welcome, and where the bond only strengthens through shared moments of quiet, creativity, and compassion. These two don't just walk alongside each other in life, they swim together through the ocean of feeling, gently guiding one another through the tides, again and again. Business compatibility, creativity meets chaos. When it comes to business, a Pisces man and Pisces woman working together is like watching two artists co-create a world from stardust. They're not just business partners, they're visionaries, dreamers, soul collaborators. If they channel their strengths properly, they can create something deeply unique and emotionally resonant. Their combined intuition allows them to anticipate trends before they emerge, and their mutual creativity gives them a natural edge in fields that require emotional intelligence and originality. Whether it's a holistic wellness studio, an indie film company, a fashion label, or a spiritual healing practice, they're capable of building a business that feels more like a movement than a model. They don't just brainstorm, they dreamstorm. Their meetings might look less like strategy sessions and more like conversations over coffee about the energy of the brand, the emotions behind the mission, or the aesthetic vibe they want to cultivate. They are fluent in symbolism and vision. Mood boards. Overflowing. Inspiration journals. Full. Passion. Endless. Their shared idealism allows them to see not just what a business is, but what it could be, a vehicle for meaning, connection, and transformation. When they're aligned, they radiate a magnetic energy that attracts clients, collaborators, and communities that resonate with their values. Their emotional intelligence also gives them a unique leadership style. They care about people, about purpose, about creating beauty and healing in the world. Employees, clients, and partners often feel deeply seen and valued when working with them. They lead with compassion, not control. They want their business to be a sanctuary, not just for themselves, but for everyone involved. And in today's world, where authenticity matters more than polish, that heartfelt approach can set them apart in the best way possible. But here's where the dream starts to blur: execution. Pisces are not known for their practicality or consistency. While they're overflowing with creative vision, they often struggle with the step-by-step process required to turn that vision into reality. Spreadsheets. They'll procrastinate. Deadlines. They might forget. Budgeting. A painful necessity they'd rather spiritually bypass. When both partners are water signs prone to escapism, avoidance, and perfectionism, the day-to-day operations can quickly become a chaotic afterthought. What begins as a passionate joint project can devolve into a beautiful mess of half-finished plans, unpaid invoices, and vague to-do lists written in watercolor pens. Neither partner likes confrontation, so crucial conversations about finances, structure, or underperformance may be swept under the rug. Both may assume the other is handling it, or worse, silently hope the problem resolves itself. Because they prioritize emotional harmony, they may avoid making tough calls, like cutting costs, firing staff, or setting hard deadlines. That avoidance can be deadly for a business. A shared love for intuition and flow is wonderful, but businesses need boundaries, structure, and clear goals. Without those anchors, two Pisces can end up swimming in circles, propelled by waves of inspiration but with no solid direction. And then there's the issue of money. Pisces are notoriously generous and idealistic with finances. They may overgive, undercharge, or trust the wrong people simply because they want to believe the best in everyone. Contracts may feel cold, pricing may feel too commercial, and profitability might feel like it's in conflict with their values. But idealism doesn't keep the lights on. If they don't have someone involved who understands the practical side of business, accounting, contracts, scaling, they risk sabotaging their own success. Passion without planning can quickly become burnout masked as artistry. The solution? Grounded partnership. If they're serious about building a business together, a Pisces man and woman should consider bringing in a third party, someone practical, analytical, and unafraid to say no. An earth sign business manager, an operations consultant, or even a grounded assistant can provide the stability they lack. This person doesn't need to understand the dream, they just need to help execute it. With the right structure in place, their business can become the embodiment of their collective imagination, visionary, soulful, and wildly impactful. At their best, this Pisces-Pisces duo can build a brand that doesn't just sell, it heals, inspires, and awakens. They can turn business into a form of art, entrepreneurship into emotional alchemy. But without balance, they risk becoming captains of a ship with no rudder, adrift in creativity, but never arriving at their destination. Emotional spiritual bond, a love beyond words. Beyond the tangible realms of love, sex, marriage, or business, the emotional and spiritual bond between a Pisces man and a Pisces woman transcends language, logic, and time. It's a connection that doesn't need to be defined, it simply is. They don't just understand each other's thoughts, they understand each other's essence. This is not the kind of bond that needs constant reassurance or explanation. It operates on a different frequency altogether, one made of subtle glances, quiet gestures, and unspoken emotions. Their relationship feels less like a meeting of minds and more like a reunion of souls. Together, they experience the world through a deeply emotional lens. They don't just react to life, they absorb it. Art, music, silence, dreams, sadness, beauty, everything becomes amplified when shared between them. They're like two tuning forks vibrating at the same pitch. When one hurts, the other feels it. When one is inspired, the other rises with them. They exist in a shared emotional ecosystem, where even the smallest ripple in one's spirit echoes through the other's being. It's a rare level of emotional resonance, one that can feel like telepathy, so natural, it's almost surreal. They're both mystics in their own way. Intuition is their compass, and they often find themselves drawn to spiritual practices that bring depth and meaning to their connection. Whether it's meditating together at dawn, pulling tarot cards on a rainy afternoon, or having long conversations about the soul's purpose while stargazing, they instinctively seek a higher vibration in their relationship. These aren't just partners, they're fellow travelers on a metaphysical journey. They may share similar dreams, not just metaphorically, but literally. Their subconscious worlds often overlap, leading to eerie coincidences, psychic moments, and a feeling that fate, or something greater, is guiding their path. This shared spirituality often expresses itself in how they relate to the world. Compassionate to the core, they may be drawn to acts of service together. They might volunteer for causes close to their hearts, rescue stray animals, or become involved in healing professions, emotional, physical, or spiritual. Together, they radiate a kind of gentle energy that people feel drawn to, even if they can't explain why. Their love becomes more than just a private bond, it becomes a source of light for others. When these two unite, they don't just nurture each other, they become catalysts for healing in their communities. However, there is a shadow side to this profound emotional and spiritual connection. When something feels this right, it's easy to forget that not everything that feels good is good long-term. Their emotional highs are intoxicating, but they can easily mask underlying issues. Because they're so emotionally in sync, they may excuse or ignore red flags, believing that love is enough to override conflict or dysfunction. They might stay in unhealthy dynamics simply because they believe they're soulmates, believing that soul-deep love must also mean eternal compatibility. But love, even the deepest kind, needs honesty, accountability, and boundaries to remain healthy. The Pisces' tendency to idealize people can also cause trouble here. They may place each other on pedestals, seeing only the divine reflection of their own dreams and not the very human person behind them. When reality eventually crashes through the fantasy, it can lead to disillusionment, emotional withdrawal, or quiet suffering. Instead of facing problems directly, they might retreat into themselves, hoping time, or the universe, will fix things. But emotional depth without emotional maturity can trap them in cycles of passive heartbreak and spiritual stagnation. True spiritual growth requires balance. It's not about avoiding pain or floating above life, it's about facing life with open eyes and an open heart. For this Pisces pair to truly thrive, they must learn to anchor their love in the real world. That means having hard conversations, creating healthy boundaries, and recognizing when emotional intuition needs to be matched with practical wisdom. Their connection may feel like it exists in another dimension, but the strength of that bond depends on how well they care for each other here, on Earth. At its highest potential, the emotional and spiritual bond between a Pisces man and a Pisces woman is nothing short of transcendental. It's the kind of love that poems try to capture and dreams try to replicate. It is soft, sacred, infinite. But its longevity depends on more than intuition and emotion, it depends on their willingness to evolve. To turn their shared dream into a shared reality. To remain grounded, even while reaching for the stars. Because when this pair learns to balance the magic with the mundane, their love becomes not only otherworldly, but unstoppable. Conclusion: soulmates or shipmates? So, are a Pisces man and a Pisces woman truly soulmates, or just two sensitive souls drifting side by side, hoping the currents take them somewhere beautiful? The answer lies not in fate, but in intention. These two have every ingredient for a once-in-a-lifetime connection: emotional depth, spiritual resonance, limitless compassion, and a near-telepathic understanding of one another. Their bond is rich, poetic, and mystical. But even the most enchanted love story needs something more than emotion, it needs direction. Without it, even the strongest spiritual current can pull them off course. Their emotional and spiritual connection is profound, no doubt. It often feels destined, as if the universe whispered, "You two belong together." But destiny alone doesn't build lasting love. For this union to thrive, Pisces and Pisces must commit not just to feeling deeply, but to acting with clarity. That means learning to talk about difficult things, set healthy boundaries, and make space for personal growth, not just shared daydreams. It's easy for them to lose themselves in the beauty of their bond, but if they don't take time to define who they are as individuals, their love can dissolve into emotional fog. Think of them as two luminous jellyfish gliding through the same vast ocean, elegant, weightless, connected by a soft pulse of understanding. In calm waters, they move with grace, responding instinctively to each other's rhythm. But when the tides shift, and they always do, who's navigating? Who's anchoring the relationship when emotion swells and reality comes crashing in? If neither takes the helm, they may find themselves lost in a sea of mutual confusion, floating further from shore with no idea how to get back. Love, no matter how pure, still needs a compass. Yet, when they choose self-awareness, everything changes. When they realize that love isn't just about sharing the same dream, but also waking up and building something real together, that's when magic becomes movement. A little structure, a dash of planning, and a lot of emotional honesty can take this relationship from a whimsical connection to a truly grounded, thriving partnership. When they learn to balance their boundless empathy with real-world tools, they become unstoppable, not just as lovers, but as life partners, creative collaborators, and spiritual companions. This Pisces-Pisces match has the potential to be legendary. The kind of love story that gets written into poetry, turned into films, or painted in soft watercolors. A romance that feels eternal because it touches every layer of existence, emotional, spiritual, psychological, and soulful. But to make it last, they need to dive deeper than fantasy. They need to learn the dance of dreaming and doing, of softness and strength, of emotion and execution. Then, and only then, will their connection become the kind of story that doesn't just inspire, it endures. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and share this with someone who needs a little zodiac magic today. Check out the links in the description for more cosmic content and follow us on social for daily insights.